Hey, so this was a prescription that was picked up at Target, and I don't even want to say I'm angry. It's more disgusted than anything. This is for Hemalog that he uses in an insulin pump, and this was for 2 vials of Hemalog. And 1 vial lasts him, I would say, approximately 3 weeks or so. So this is basically for 6 weeks of life, and as anyone with type 1 diabetes knows, you need way more than just insulin. But this is just the insulin alone. Cash price $269.99 for basically 6 weeks of life. That's ridiculous. Thankfully, our insurance paid for it. However, that has not always been the case with us, and a lot of people don't have insurance. If you're especially making under $40,000 a year, how are you supposed to afford that much every 6 weeks? Or, more or less, depending. Everyone takes a different amount of insulin. But in our situation, 6 weeks, let alone all the other supplies that come along with type 1 diabetes. That's an outrage. That should be illegal. Really. 2 vials. I just wish that there were different laws. This is just not right. This should not be allowed. I remember whenever he didn't have insurance, and he actually had to pay, was it almost $300 for a couple of his insulin pens, the Hemalog pens. This was, of course, before his insulin pump. And you just think about that, and it's disgusting. It really is disgusting this way. People are allowed to mark this life-sustaining medication up because he doesn't have an option not to use this. He has to use this every single day of his life. And they're allowed to charge that price. Like I said, we have the insurance, thankfully, and it was paid for. But we haven't always been in that situation, and there are so many people out there that are in such a bad place, they can't afford, the insulin that they need. So what happens is they either resort to using an older insulin. I know that a lot of Walmarts, depending on what state you're in, sell insulin behind the pharmacy counter without a prescription for $20-some, I believe. But a lot of people don't need that insulin anymore. Those are older insulins. But they're forced to use it because they can't pay that. Whenever people are forced to use older insulins, a lot of times what that means is they won't have as good control. And their health is really at risk. Again, not everybody that uses older insulin's health is at risk. I just know in our specific situation, he can't use those. His numbers just didn't have good control. He needs to use this insulin. I just also think about the people in the world that don't even have access to insulin, people in third world countries. What do? They just have a shortened lifespan because they can't afford insulin either. That's not fair. That's not right. There has to be a change that's made. This isn't fair. It's just not fair.